was a high-ranking Mason, but also, when he would do at the final of his stadium speech, all these people would start coming down. But that was all fraudulent. It was all staged. Mm-hmm. Those hundreds of people up there were coming down, and they were his staffers, people that have been persuaded to do that in order to draw the rest of them down.
Yeah, doesn't that remind you of those early 9/11, anti-9/11 truth protests? All staged, sorry.
Yeah, it does. That's great. That's great. Great tie-in. Hey, we're going to take another break. Hey, if you would like to call into the show, you can do so now or a little bit later if you want. The number is 877-342-6673, and you can also instant message me during the show. That's at BigJohnLipscomb@yahoo.com. I've got plenty of room up on my screen. I usually do on Monday and Friday for whatever reason. But if you have a question or a comment, whatever we're talking about, call or instant message and let us know what you're thinking. We were talking about, Jeff, you and I were talking about the satanic group that they're obsessed with sex rituals and all this kind of stuff, sex crimes against children. And I had a guy about, I guess it's been 3 years now. He was working with I don't want to define him too much because the people might know, but he was in the waterworks deal out here, and we got to talking, and then all of a sudden he knew about the New World Order, I knew about the New World Order, but it was from different perspectives. His father was a Navy admiral, and when he was a child, his dad was stationed in Japan, and so this guy, who was about almost 10 years younger than me, when he was in Japan growing up, he went to this Japanese private school, and he said that he didn't realize anything was different from his school and other schools because he didn't have anything to compare it to, right? But they did satanic sex rituals at school. And there were about 20 students, and it was he, his brother, and his sister. And although they varied in age about 4 or 5 years, they would lay them up on the table, and the adult teachers would be dressed in red and black robes and come in, and there would be candles and all this sorts of stuff. And he thought every child was going through the same thing. He didn't know any better, and it really was a traumatic thing for this guy. He was actually reaching out to get some therapy, so we spent many hours talking late at night. He would leave 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and then he would come back at 6 o'clock in the evening the very next day, and I think by the time we got done after a couple of weeks, he was headed in the right direction. But it really does throw the young person out of kilt when they are sexually abused.
Yeah, one of my best friends from college, actually, I'm kind of giving things away, but he was on similar circumstances as sexual abuse. But as far as the satanic rituals in school, 2 things about that. Is it Gunderson, who's got a whole big, that's happened many times, as you know. So, all I have to say is everybody, make sure you enroll your kids for public school, because it can there's any extreme of what can happen if you just release control of your children and let a government which is ultimately ruled by a satanic source at the top raise your children. We've all lost our mind in this nation if we do that. I'm working so hard if you knew me in my personal life, and you do, John, I work my butt off, and one of the main reasons I'm working so hard is to avoid having to do public school. So, I mean, that means I have to do other things. For example, if I was to homeschool, then I need to be able to support my wife, which I would want to do anyways, to keep everybody in the home. I mean, so we all need to have, well, in my opinion, it's just an attitude of love, and we need to have this, and we can't just get lazy. I mean, I've got so many old friends that, I say to them, how can you have your kids in daycare? And some of them say to me, well, I'm really trying not to, and I don't want to. And I say, well, yeah, I really respect that. That makes sense. And then they sort of feel bad about it, and I, empathize for that. And but then there's the other class of them who say, well, I like to have my things, and I like to go to the mall and buy junk, and I just really don't understand. Personally, I'm not going to sit here and say how crazy, blah, 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 but it's just I don't see how the system could have severed the love link between parent and child to such a degree where literally they're in admission. I've had several old friends, going back to college and high school, not friends really of the present day, which are more like you, John. But, they're admitting that their interest in buying junk at the mall is more important to them than their interest in raising their children themselves, or in other words, being with their children. So it's a stunning culture. I mean, what's the difference between that and when the Nazis, in a Nazi-style system, where the families are separated? I mean, that's pretty much what we're dealing with in our culture today. We have a lot of people fearing CPS. Oh no, CPS, and there's nothing to fear about CPS if we've got if we're armed and so forth. And people need to exercise this. If you have an unconstitutional, all this CPS garbage going on, it's time for someone probably. Well, I don't want to get myself labeled here by saying this, but it's probably time for someone to step up if we've got a government that kidnaps children.
Yes,
as they do. But what's the difference between the system we live in now and a CPS system where you've got children already living away from the family? So what's the difference? We're already
exactly. There. And then you've got the CPS system that loses dozens and dozens of children every year. Down in Florida, they were missing over 100.
Yeah, they're I think those satanic rituals you're talking about are where they accidentally lose those kids too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I giggle there, but I giggle, and it's just my personality. I'm a happy person who's always chuckling and stuff, but I mean, I do it in a sort of exasperation.
Yeah, we have let the government just take complete control. I was talking to someone about homeschooling, and as a reason, this wasn't so long ago, this was within the last couple of years, as an excuse for why they didn't want to do it, after I'd spent, hours and hours with them over a month's period, they said, well, you know what, I need my free time away from the children, and daycare is the perfect solution for that.
Yep.
And I thought, gee, that maybe the children do need to be away from that parent with that kind of attitude. Right. We've surrendered our responsibility, and then you go to the other side where I come across, this is the majority of adults. When they have this attitude, as soon as their child turns 18, he's got to go outside the door. I don't get that.
That was
anyway,
my
taking a break. We have a caller that I need to go to in just a second, but on that last segment I ended with, and then there's these parents that as soon as their children turn 18, they are out of the house. It just kind of ties into this sense of American parents that they have an obligation and they are fulfilling it, regretfully, but